This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our March North Haven Board of Selectmen meeting. I'm Michael Frieda, North Haven's first selectman, joined by our second selectman, Mr. William Piper, and our third selectwoman, Ms. Sally Boemi. Thank you for joining us here on this wonderful March day. So, I'd like to ask everyone to stand, and those watching on TV, we have our Girl Scouts with us this evening, and they're going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, girls. And would you lead us in the Girl Scout promise? Can you do that for us?
Try to serve God and my country, to help people at all times, and to live by the Girl Scout law.
Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen watching on TV this evening, every year here in North Haven we honor our Girl Scouts with Girl Scout Day. So I'd like to take this opportunity for those watching on TV and for those in the audience, including our young Girl Scouts here, to offer this proclamation. So bear with me over the next couple of minutes as I read this very important proclamation this evening. Girl Scout Day, March 5th, 2020. The year 2020 marks the 108th anniversary of the Girl Scouts of the United States of America, the largest and most successful leadership program for girls all across the world. Girl Scouts unleashes an acronym, G-I-R-L. The G stands for go-getter. The I stands for innovator. The R stands for risk taker. And the L is a powerful symbol for leadership. This GIRL acronym is in every girl, preparing her for a lifetime of leadership. The Girl Scouts, ladies and gentlemen, combines a time-tested, research-based method with exciting modern programming that speaks to today's girls and is designed to cater to the strengths of girls' leadership development. Girl Scouts offers 21st century programming in science, technology, engineering, and math, commonly referred to as STEM. It also offers the outdoors, entrepreneurship, and beyond, helping girls develop invaluable life skills and take the lead early and often. Important life skills for all of us. As the world's premier leadership development organization for girls, Girl Scouts welcomes girls of all backgrounds, of all interests, who want to develop the courage, confidence, and character to make the world a better place. Research shows that girls learn best in an all-girl, girl-led environment in which their specific needs are addressed and met. The Girl Scout Gold Award, the highest and the most prestigious award in Girl Scouting, calls on Girl Scouts in grades 9 to 12 to take on projects that have a measurable and sustainable impact on our communities by first assessing a need, designing a solution, and completing a project, and equally important, inspiring others to sustain the project, enhancing the great legacy of the Girl Scouts. With more than 100 years, ladies and gentlemen, of experience, the Girl Scouts bring a wealth of knowledge to programs that deliver girls cornerstone experiences with the benefits of a lifetime. Today, over 50 million women are Girl Scout alums, and 2.6 million girls and adults are current members. So it gives me a great deal of pride here this evening as Michael J. Frieda, Chief Executive of the Town of North Haven, by virtue of the authority invested in me by our town charter and the wonderful citizens across this great town, do hereby applaud this wonderful Girl Scout movement and applaud and acknowledge the Girl Scouts of Connecticut for providing girls with a safe, inclusive, all-girl space where they can hone their skills and enhance and perpetuate their leadership skills here, not only in North Haven, not only in the state of Connecticut, but all across the United States and all across the world. So this proclamation is an indelible symbol, a source of pride for us here this evening to present to the Girl Scouts and the young girls who are here. We very proudly proclaim today is Girl Scout Day here in the town of North Haven. Thank you. If I can come here.
If you want to come. Okay. Let me bring my
So, we have this proclamation, if I can present it here. Okay. Here. Okay. Wait, come on over,
All right,
girls.
girls,
Come
come
on
on
over
up.
here.
Go over there. All the girls, come on up, okay? You want to go?
No, so turn around, Val's gonna take the picture, okay, so, all right.
To make the picture too crowded.
Okay.
Just
gotta squeeze in a little bit. Okay.
Hold on a second.
Very nice. Step out just a bit, because we're missing, yeah, oh, okay. There we go. Gotta make sure we get all those beautiful faces. It's wonderful. All right, okay.
What do you say, girls? Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here.
My Girl Scouts.
Does he have some cookies for you?
Do, well, that is so appreciated by myself and my colleagues here, very much.
They're too good to share.
So before we conclude here, I want to ask you, what grade are you in? What grade are you all in right now? First, yeah, and all first, okay. And what school are you in? What school do you go to? Green Acres. Green Acres. Very good. You come from Ridge Road. So we have Green Acres, Ridge Road, and Clintonville here tonight. That's great. We have a great representation of our school system here. So, did you enjoy being here tonight?
Yes.
Well, I want to tell you, we really enjoyed having you here tonight. It's a great honor. And we are so appreciative of what you're doing. Because although you may not realize it now, I hope your parents do, leaders of the Girl Scouts, you are the future leaders. And I could see 25 years from now, maybe 30, maybe one of you sitting up here, and you presiding over a meeting, and one of you perhaps reading the Girl Scout Day proclamation to the fine citizens of North Haven maybe 30 years from now. So I thank you very much for this. I'm going to share this with my colleagues here, and you're of course welcome to stay, and thank you for being here, okay?
Thank you.
We're leaving?
We're gonna.
No, no.
Thank you. Bye, girls. Welcome. Bye-bye. Careful.
Yeah, one's in kindergarten, this started this year.
That don't bother me.
I will. Take care.
Good night.
It's always a
They're adorable.
They are. Give a lot of credit to the parents and the Girl Scout leaders.
Right, I think it's a nice tradition
Yes,
every year.
yes.
And it's like an affirmation for them that we appreciate what they're doing.
Yes.
I think it's great. Are we on?
So we're gonna go
Yeah.
to item number 2, back to number 2, and Val,
Right.
I'm gonna ask you to tie in here, okay? Valerie, on public comment to the agenda and the motions 1 and 2. Any public comment to our agenda? No. Michael, no comment, okay, all right. So Val, go right ahead.
Yeah, we just have a couple of items that were not included on the original agenda that we would like to get taken care of. There are 2 resolutions, so I'd like to ask the selectmen if they would please enter a motion to add these 2 items to the agenda, perhaps as items 6A and 6B. If you could each do that, that would be lovely.
Okay, I'll do the first one.
Sure, please.
I'll just say because this is a regular
Yes.
Board of Selectmen meeting, we're allowed to amend
Yes.
the agenda. So I will move for a motion to amend the agenda to include item number 6A, to consider and vote upon a resolution with respect to the authorization, issuance, and sale of not exceeding $42 million Town of North Haven general obligation refunding bonds. So I'll make that motion.
And I'll second that, that motion that Sally just made to amend the agenda.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And then the second addendum to the agenda of tonight's meeting is a motion to amend the agenda to include item 6B, to consider and vote on a resolution authorizing a lease purchase financing for the acquisition of a combination sewer cleaner vacuum truck.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll get to that shortly,
And then
okay?
I just wanted to, which is really not a motion, but I think in number 6, I noted a typo,
Yes.
Sally, and number 6, just for purposes of correcting the typo. The second sentence, or third sentence, and it says, at present, there's 1 fire department vehicle leaving the fleet and available for auction. And that actually, I think as you noted, probably as well. Then we list 3 vehicles. It should be 3 and not 1.
So we'll change it to there are 3
Right.
fire department vehicles, plural.
Yes.
So do we need a motion to make that, since it's a resolution?
If you would like to do that, we can, just to
Procedurally,
be on
let's
the
do it,
safe
yes.
side,
I'll make,
yes.
in light of the second selectman's comments, I'll make a motion to amend item 6 as we just discussed.
I'll second Sally's motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, we'll get to that shortly. Item number 4, the approval of the minutes of our Board of Selectmen meeting from February 6th.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, item number 6, or item number 5. I'd like to ask, Rob's back in the booth, I'd like to ask North Haven TV to focus in on this brief presentation that I'd like to make tonight by focusing the cameras on the TV set here, so the audience watching on TV can see the content of this. I'd like to give everyone an overview on the coronavirus and what the town is starting to move forward with in terms of a plan. Before I get started, I should say that across the United States, there are approximately 173 people who have now experienced this coronavirus. Here in North Haven, or here in Connecticut, I should say, the closest case that I've heard is in Westchester County, specifically in New Rochelle, New York. So tonight, I'd like to give an overview, and I want to just make mention that we don't want anyone to panic. This is a presentation with some content that hopefully will give you some information that would be helpful. So with that being said, here we go. The coronavirus. I want to give you an update in terms of what the town is doing. On Saturday, March 14th at 2 p.m. at the North Haven Library Community Room, we are hosting, in conjunction with the Quinnipiac Valley Health District, an educational program. And as you see on the screen, the program is designed to outline flus, colds, and what has been now commonly called COVID-19. COVID-19, the coronavirus. This, we're asking for registration to call the library in advance. It's for ages 18 and above in our library community room. And we have a gentleman by the name of Ali, as you see the name here, Mulvahili. He's a public health prevention and engagement specialist from our health district here that spans across various towns, Hamden, Bethany, North Haven in particular, and Cheshire, for an overview on how to keep you and your family healthy this spring. This will be, I think, a wonderful information session. In addition to that, myself and the president of Quinnipiac University, President Judy Olean, have met several times on putting together a collaborative program hosted by Quinnipiac University. So this will be a community conversation where the goal is to get the facts, become more educated, and have more awareness about the coronavirus. This will be held Monday, March 16th at 6 p.m. at the Quinnipiac North Haven campus in the Quinnipiac Auditorium. And that's, of course, off of Bassett Road. This panel will include some of the leading healthcare experts in the state. Mr. Dennis Brown, who is the chair and director of Physician Assistant Studies at Quinnipiac. Dwayne Boucard, he's a professor of biomedical sciences and director of the Graduate Medical Laboratory Science and Biomedical Science programs. Janelle Chiacera, she's the dean of the School Health Sciences. She will moderate the discussion. Laura Mutri, clinical assistant professor of social work. Sheila Maloney, who's a professor of nursing at Quinnipiac University. Thomas Martin, director of biomedical sciences, microbiology, and immunology. And John Thomas, professor of law. And of course, in conjunction with this, we will have Richard Matheny. He's the acting director at the Quinnipiac Health District as we speak. Now, this community conversation will cover some of these topics, or all of these topics and others. And those topics are the signs, the symptoms, and the treatment of coronavirus. It'll cover the difference between seasonal flu and the coronavirus. It'll cover the difference between bacteria and a virus. We'll get an update on the status of the emerging vaccine to treat this virus. There'll be an instructional set of dialogue in terms of how to best wash your hands. Believe it or not, there can be improvement on that. How to best use hand soap and hand sanitizer. How to best clean high contact surfaces, and what you can do to prepare for this illness, and where to find the most up-to-date information and how to reduce the spread of this coronavirus. Now, I put together here some do's and don'ts for our public. This is the town of North Haven preparing some do's and don'ts as recommended by WebMD. The do's: wash your hands for at least 20 seconds, several times a day. The recommendation is use soap and water, or at the very least a hand sanitizer with at least 60% alcohol. Do this before cooking, before eating, and after using, of course, the bathroom. And after any respiratory problems or any congestion where people have to use handkerchiefs or tissues after the coughing or sneezing, please dispose of that tissue. Don't leave it around the house. The don'ts include: don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth if you have someone come into contact with the virus. Touching one's face can easily facilitate it entering one's body. Some of the do's also include: learn the symptoms. which are familiar to the flu, and those include fever, cough, shortness of breath, and most cases do not start with a runny nose. The don'ts include don't wear a mask unless you're sick, because masks help protect others from catching the virus, but wearing one when you're healthy won't do much. Leave the mask for people who really need them, like the sick or healthcare professionals. On the do side, consider or reconsider travel to affected countries. And the CDC advises all non-essential travel to China, South Korea. For those in a higher risk group, the agency suggests postponing non-essential travel to Italy, Japan, and Iran. Don't travel if you have a fever. If you get sick on a flight, tell the crew immediately. When you get home, contact a professional, a health professional. Do consider taking extra precautions. Staying out of public places if you're 60 years old or over, or have a condition. If you have a higher risk of developing the disease, if you have that age bracket and you have an existing condition, you will have a higher risk of developing the disease. Now, as of now, the highest risk groups appear to be seniors and people with pre-existing conditions. Most importantly, don't panic, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, the public health officials still say the risk of becoming infected with COVID-19 is very low. Taking the proper precautions and making preparations are the best thing that you can do. Seek help early if you have a fever, a cough, or have a hard time breathing. But don't just drop into the nearest urgent care clinic. Call your doctor to find out the protocol first to make sure you won't spread any germs or the disease. And don't go out except to see your doctor, and try to avoid public transportation where possible. Now, before we move on, I'd also like to share with everyone that, I'm working with our superintendent of schools, and there's an accelerated cleaning program and process happening in our schools right now. Today, I had Dr. Miguel Cardona with us at a statewide CCM meeting, and I introduced him to all the chief elected officials across the state, and Dr. Miguel Cardona, a wonderful man, great background. He's working on a statewide protocol for school systems and boards of ed to implement one standard procedure across the state. But in addition to that, we in the town are working with our cleaning company, and we are working to now integrate a new product that's designed to eliminate these kind of viruses. And this is called a Clorox Total 360 system. This is a brochure identifying the strength of the product against these known now viruses. Now, we're going to be adding this to our cleaning company. The cleaning company will, as we move forward, will start cleaning our buildings using this substance. The thing about this substance, though, it's more of a reactionary. If there's a virus that's been identified, or there's been excessive sneezing or coughing with people entering the town buildings, then we will have the cleaning company at night administer this product to eliminate that. The only dilemma with the product is if we were to spray this room tonight and clean, it would go away. If there's no virus here, it would dissipate. It's stronger in reacting to viruses. It's stronger to reacting to if there's a flu season or a cold season like we're probably in right now. This product will disinfect the buildings immediately. So this is what we're doing as a town too. So ladies and gentlemen, this is what's happening here in North Haven. Again, don't panic. Rest assured that the town is moving forward with a plan. Our fire chief is actively involved with our Quinnipiac Health District, and he's done a great job in also helping the town, myself, move this plan forward. And that's where we're at, Sally and Bill. Thank you for your attention, everyone.
Very good.
Okay.
Clorox is a long-standing, trusted manufacturer.
A trusted brand.
We all have Clorox somewhere in the basement.
One of my clients years ago, one of my company's divisions across the country,
Okay.
Clorox Company. All right, just as we conclude here, we are working through our budget process. The first budget public hearing is Tuesday, April 7th at 7 p.m. at the North Haven High School, and the annual budget meeting is Monday, May 11th at the high school. And finally, our dear friend Hugh Davis, who does so much for the town of North Haven. He's involved with so many wonderful projects, the Clean Energy Task Force, Earth Day, always been an asset to the town of North Haven, and me in particular, working collaboratively with Hugh. And he wanted me to ask, and I'm delighted to do so, to remind everybody that this is from the North Haven Conservation Commission, that North Haven Earth Day is Saturday, April 4th, at our high school from 10 to 1:30. It's a fun event for the whole family. It features a scavenger hunt this year, face painting, food trucks, and lots of information, ladies and gentlemen, on making your life greener and cleaner. And it's really a wonderful event, and hopefully you'll be able to attend. Hugh Davis, Conservation Commission, everyone on there, thank you for all you do for the town of North Haven. Okay, so we'll go to item number 6, and who would like to read that?
I'll start. Item number 6 on the agenda is to consider and vote upon the following resolution. Resolve the town of North Haven authorize the online auction of surplus fire department assets. All revenue received will return to the town of North Haven's general fund. At present, there are 3 fire department vehicles leaving the fleet and available for auction. The vehicles are identified as a 2009 Ford Explorer, a 1994 Pierce Dash fire engine, and a 2001 Pierce aerial truck. The Director of Finance, Edward Swinkowski, is authorized to determine acceptable bid offers.
Okay,
Okay, I'll second that resolution as read.
all right. So we have a motion and a second, and any other discussion? Hearing none?
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
yes.
sorry.
Oh, you have to.
I have a question.
Yes.
At a fire commission meeting, I believe it was 2 months ago, I was in attendance, and I had asked the chief, because we expect, we have the new fire engine coming in May, and I believe he's located a replacement used ladder truck for Northeast. And so I had asked about selling the 2 Pierces that are listed here, if they had any, resale value. And he said he didn't think so, and he was hoping that they would be it or they. I don't remember if he said one or both, I'll be honest with you, but he said at least he was hoping one would be maintained for use as training. So unfortunately, I was too busy to contact him today to clarify that. So is that changed? These are going to be sold?
Yes, they are going to be sold,
Okay.
but the chief has informed us that the Volunteer House is going to make an offer on one of these trucks.
Oh, okay.
So they end up becoming a part of the bid process. And I think they've established in their own mind a dollar amount that they would be willing to offer. So they are in the mix on this. on
Okay.
One of these
So you
vehicles.
could see, why, based on his answer, that they were not,
Yes.
they had no resale value, that's why I asked. So that's good to hear. So that's all I wanted to clear up.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, item,
Yes, item 6A?
yes.
Excuse me, I'll
You read
do
it,
that.
yes.
It is item 6A, a resolution of the Board of Selectmen, resolution with respect to the authorization, issuance, and sale of not exceeding $42 million Town of North Haven general obligation refunding bonds. Resolved, A, that the town, this is rather long, ladies and gentlemen, so hang in there with me. If you have to make a sandwich, go ahead. A, that the town issue It's refunding bonds, the refunding bonds, in an amount not to exceed $42 million, the proceeds of which are hereby appropriated to fund one or more escrows to be applied together with the investment earnings thereon to the payment in whole or in part as determined by the first selectman and the treasurer of the town of the outstanding principal of and interest and any call premium on all or a portion of any issue of the town's general obligation bonds, including but not limited to the town's $25 million general obligation bonds issue of 2015, $10 million general obligations bond issue of 2016, $7,500,000 general obligation bonds issue of 2017, and $7,500,000 general obligations bonds issue of 2018, the refunded bonds, including the payment of interest accrued on the refunded bonds to the date of payment, and to pay costs of issuance of the refunding bonds, including legal fees, consultant fees, trustee or escrow agent fees, underwriting fees, net interest, and other financing costs and other costs related to the payment of the refunding bonds. The refunding bond shall be issued pursuant to Section 7-370C of the Connecticut General Statutes, revision of 1958 as amended, and any other enabling acts. The refunding bond shall be general obligations of the town secured by the irrevocable pledge of the full faith and credit of the town. The first selectman and the treasurer of the town shall sign the refunding bonds by their manual or facsimile signatures. The law firm of Day Pitney LLP is designated as bond counsel to approve the legality of the refunding bonds. The first selectman and the treasurer are authorized to determine the amount, date, interest rates, maturities, redemption provisions, form, and other details of the refunding bonds, to designate one or more banks or trust companies to be certifying bank, registrar, transfer agent, and paying agent for the refunding bonds, to provide for the safe keeping of a record of the refunding bonds, to sell the refunding bonds at public or private sale, to deliver the refunding bonds, and to perform all other acts which are necessary or appropriate to issue the refunding bonds. B, that the town hereby declares its official intent under federal income tax regulation section 1.150-2 that costs of the refunding may be paid from temporary advances of available funds, and that, except to the extent reimbursed from grant monies, the town reasonably expects to reimburse any such advances from the proceeds of borrowings in an aggregate principal amount not in excess of the amount of borrowing authorized above for the refunding. The first selectman and the treasurer are authorized to amend such declaration of official intent as they deem necessary or advisable, and to bind the town pursuant to such representations and covenants as they deem necessary or advisable in order to maintain the continued exemption from federal income taxation of interest on the bonds authorized by this resolution, if issued on a tax-exempt basis, including covenants to pay rebates of investment earnings to the United States in future years. C, that while it is anticipated that the bonds will qualify as tax-exempt bonds, the first selectman and the treasurer are authorized, upon the advice of bond counsel, to issue all or any portion of the bonds as bonds the interest on which is includable in the gross income of the owners thereof for federal income tax purposes, and it is hereby found and determined that the issuance of any such bonds or notes is in the public interest. D, that the first selectman and the treasurer are authorized to make representations and enter into written agreements for the benefit of holders of the bonds to provide secondary market disclosure information, which agreements may include such terms as they deem advisable or appropriate in order to comply with the applicable laws or rules pertaining to the sale or purchases of such bonds. E, that the first selectman and the treasurer are authorized to take all other action which is necessary or desirable to enable the town to effectuate the refunding of the refunded bonds, and to issue the refunding bonds for such purposes, including but not limited to the entrance into agreements on behalf of the town with underwriters, trustees, escrow agents, and others to facilitate the issuance of the refunding bonds, the escrow of the proceeds thereof, and investment earnings thereon, and the payment of the refunded bonds. F, that the above authorization to issue refunding bonds shall lapse on June 30th, 2021.
Did a very nice job with that. That was long. So,
Yes.
Thank you.
No problem.
So if I can ask for a motion, then in the discussion, I'll explain this, okay? Can we have a motion to accept the resolution?
I'll second Sally's motion.
Yeah, I moved it
You
as
moved
read.
okay. Moved as read?
And I'll second.
So in the discussion, I just want to make mention what this really means, ladies and gentlemen. And this is a good thing. Every day, Ed and I look at the financials, Ed Swinkowski, our Director of Finance, of this government. And every day, we look at our debt service as part of that. We know that with the building of a new middle school and the building of a new police department, our debt has risen as we're starting to pay for those two very important projects. So one of the things that Ed and I always do is look at the bonds that we have from the past, and we look at what the projected debt will be in years to come. As part of that, we look at what we call callable bonds. And we've identified that in 2015, there were bonds that are callable. And what this means, this resolution that Sally read, that Bill seconded, this will save the town $633,000 in debt service over the course of the next 12 to 15 to 17 years. So when we look at the aggregate amount, that's a significant amount of money. In the first year, starting July 1st, this coming fiscal year, we will be able to achieve approximately $80,000 in debt service reduction as a result of us refinancing these bonds. And that's really the phrase I'd like to use. We're refinancing at a lower interest rate, and we'll capture significant savings over the course of time with about $80,000 in the first fiscal year starting in July. Thank you.
Yeah, we did this a couple of years ago
Yes.
for a much smaller amount. And
Yes.
I'm glad you used the word refinance, because the folks listening at home
Yeah.
might not have understood what I read. This is a little difficult to follow, but calling it a refinance makes it much more understandable, I think, and I think it's certainly appropriate and a smart thing to do.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other
Mike,
discussion?
Maybe
Yeah.
just for the public too, I'm not sure you know this offhand, but the 42 million that's going to be refinanced, what percentage of maybe our overall debt is this that you're able to refinance that are callable?
It's a 3.05% savings in debt.
No, of our total debt though, is it like half of it or?
No, I would say it's about 20% of it. I'd have to look at the numbers, but it's approximate. It's not nearly half of it.
That is a significant refinancing,
Right.
which is why you had 633,000 savings.
Yeah.
I was just trying to tie it back to, our total debt and, because it is like I think Sally said.
Yeah, we did about 10 or 12
Yeah.
million, I think it was.
Yeah.
One is,
Couple-
but with the
couple
rates
years
coming
back.
down now that,
Yeah.
lowering the rates and everything, mortgage rates have come down and the Fed fund rates have come down. This is a great
right.
opportunity to
So
further save on.
to the point,
further
Sally-
save on debt service.
Yeah.
To the point Sally and Bill are making, we did this about a year and a half ago, and we were able to capture a total of $565,000 in savings in a more compartmentalized time frame. So as an example, the first year that we saved like roughly $260,000. So we're looking at ways to refinance for two reasons. One, as Bill said, the interest rates are at an all-time low, and the utilization of our AAA-rated financial status also is a very effective tool right now. So I just want to share, Sally did a great job in reading that. We are obligated by the rules and regulations of the government to read every word of these resolutions, and that's why Sally took the time to read it as well as she did.
I'm not reading it again.
Okay.
I'm glad sometimes we have to read things twice, when
Yeah.
we do calls, so
Yep.
we don't have to do that one again. Now, you said that's a savings of 633,000. Now, that's a gross savings. Obviously, the net might be a little less because there's costs involved in
Right.
doing it, but nonetheless, I think this is an excellent course of action, and you're taking advantage of the market. So
Okay,
I commend the effort.
thank you. Thank you, Sally. All right, so now let's go to 6B.
We need a vote,
We
please.
did- we called, okay, I called for the vote, we were still in discussion. All
Yeah,
those in
we've-
favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll go to 6B, and William, if you would read that.
And this one is long, but not quite as long as the previous one. I'll make a resolution of the, for the Board of Selectmen, a resolution authorizing a lease purchase financing for the acquisition of a combination sewer cleaner vacuum truck. Resolved, A, that the town of North Haven undertake a lease purchase financing of the cost of the acquisition of a combination sewer cleaner vacuum truck and a principal amount not to exceed $375,326 for a term not in excess of 6 years. The project may include acquisition and installation cost, equipment, legal fees, construction period interest, and other financing costs and other expenses related to the acquisition and financing of the project. B, that the town hereby declares its official intent under federal income tax regulation section 1.150-2 that any project costs paid from temporary advances of available funds will be reimbursed with the proceeds of a lease financing in an aggregate principal amount not in excess of the amount of the lease authorized for the project, and to authorize the first selectman to amend such declaration of official intent as said official deems necessary or advisable, and to bind the town pursuant to such representations and covenants as said official deems necessary or advisable in order to maintain the continued exemption from federal income taxation of the interest portion of any payments due under the lease authorized by the resolution if issued on a tax-exempt basis, including covenants to pay rebates of investment earnings to the United States in future years. C, that the first selectman is authorized to approve, execute, and deliver on behalf of the town any lease purchase agreement and any certificates or documents related to the project or the financing, and is authorized to determine the amounts, dates, interest rates, maturities, payment terms, form, and other details of the lease purchase agreement, to determine whether it is in the best interest of the town to enter into a lease purchase financing in such form and manner that interest thereon is not excluded from gross income for federal income tax purposes, and to perform all other acts and execute all other documents which are necessary or appropriate to enter in the lease purchase agreement. D, neither this resolution, the agreement, nor any other instrument shall be construed with respect to the town as incurring a pecuniary liability or charge upon the general credit of the town or against its taxing power, nor shall the breach of any agreement, instrument, or document executed in conjunction with this resolution impose any pecuniary liability upon the town or any charge upon its general credit or against its taxing power, except to the extent that payments due under any such agreement, instrument, or document are special limited obligations of the town. And then finally, E, that the first selectman and other proper officers and officials of the town are authorized to take any other action which is necessary or desirable to enable the town to complete the project and to effect the aforesaid lease purchase financing.
So before we even vote on this or get into discussion, I just want to share some information that may be helpful for the audience and even for Sally and Bill. So this is an item, ladies and gentlemen, that's in the 5-year capital plan. This is another example of us utilizing favorable interest rates, lease rates, to get a vehicle that we desperately need. Now, the vac trucks are so important to our public works. The vac trucks, what they do is they'll go into a catch basin. They will clean out a catch basin, and also the pipes that lead under the roads to stop obstructions that may be causing backups and flooding on some of the streets throughout the town. Now, we've got one that's defective. This truck is defective. It's been a lot of maintenance on that truck. And when we have an emergency on a street and there's a backup or a blockage, we have to pay. We have to pay an outside vendor to utilize their vac truck or their vac truck system to try to help out on this. So this is a long-term investment, utilizing, again, our AAA status, low interest rates, to get a vehicle immediately, but not start paying for it until July. And that's a key point. Because it's in the 5-year capital plan starting in the next fiscal year, we're able to leverage our strength, if you will, financially, to accept this months before the fiscal year ends, but not pay for it until the next fiscal year. So we checked with our attorneys on the procedural aspect. They said as long as you're not paying for it this fiscal year, you can accept the delivery and utilize it. So I'll open it up for discussion. Sally, Bill.
Well, you said we have one that's been needing a lot of
Yeah.
repairs. Do we have another one besides that?
No.
So this would be the only one.
Right.
And is it used every day, or is it only used in response to a known issue or suspected problem? Like you said,
yeah.
yeah.
It's used both ways. So from a proactive management standpoint, we have begun a maintenance program to be proactive and start examining and cleaning out. But the real value also is when there's emergencies out there. And those can be very, very challenging to try to get around and correct with no truck. Because we have to call an outside vendor. We don't know what their schedule is, and then the backups and the flooding continues. So.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, this isn't, just thinking out loud here. You know, we've talked about in the past, regionalization, and I've always thought, and we've talked about this before, that certain, I would call this, in the general category of public works equipment that isn't used on a daily basis, that's quite expensive. That's, to me, the type of equipment that could be considered as a shared service. Because I know, don't we share, I think I was told a while back that we share some other equipment with Northford or North Branford. I don't know whether it was a backhoe or something. But it just, that's just food for thought in the future. I know that you've, we talked about regionalization with animal control.
Right.
And we were sharing a bit space with Hamden. And we've talked about it in the past. So that just came to mind, maybe something to think about in the future. But the second thing I wanted to say is, so why are we doing, we're doing a lease purchase rather than buying outright? I mean, last fiscal year, and I know there's been changes in the use of MRSA money, but last fiscal year, we used quite a bit of MRSA money to buy a lot of public works equipment. That was in the 5-year plan, and I just wondered why this one's being selected for this type of financing agreement rather than a purchase.
For a couple of reasons. That's really a good question, I'll say. It's a very good question. So we have an immediate need for it. And without doing this, we'd have to wait till July. And we know March and April are rainy seasons, storm seasons, and so there's an immediate need. Secondly, it takes $375,000 out as a single purchase, and it spreads out over the course of time, a lesser amount every year. Thirdly, I actually met with the governor, it was last week, and the secretary of OPM, a wonderful lady, Melissa McGraw. There's no guarantee we're going to be able to use MRSA for vehicles. Now, I was able to work out with them, the governor's office, his staff, and OPM, a request for a waiver. In other words, what they're saying is, Mike, we can't guarantee it, but we will allow you to send requests in for public works vehicles. But they also share with me, you have to understand, Mike, that the reason we stopped this, and this is what I learned about this last week, the reason we stopped allowing municipalities to buy equipment, we're under some very strict bonding obligations and regulations as to how that money is used, because we're bonding the money to give that to the municipalities. But what we're willing to consider is on a very slow, systematic basis. If you have a request, you can send in the waiver, and we will examine on a request-by-request basis.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the waiver process before at Board of Finance meetings. I believe it was in the summer of maybe 2016 or 17, we did an application for waiver for 4 items. They totaled $692,000, because MRSA money is supposed to be used for things related to streets and roads.
That's it, right.
And that first list that was approved, and we did use it, we concluded that the threshold for granting of a waiver was pretty low, because there were a couple of things on there that really didn't have anything to do with streets and roads.
Right.
There were some lawnmowers, and then there was some remediation of the firing range in the police headquarters that was included on that list. So it looked like, at least a few years back, the threshold for complying with the waiver was quite low. And I had talked about that at some Board of Finance meetings. But the close to $1 million in MRSA money that was spent last fiscal year, much of it on public works, at least you can make the argument that it's related to streets and roads.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking the question, because certainly a sewer cleaner vacuum truck is related to streets and roads. So, but I understand what you're saying about the need being immediate, because right around the corner is and are there some targeted areas that public works officials are aware of that,
Yes.
So even leasing one in the short term wouldn't really help, because there's probably going to be long-term use if there's a lot of need. So I just wanted to point those things out. And I'm glad you brought up the MRSA, because I got the impression from a previous Board of Finance meeting that they weren't going to allow any more waivers at all. But you're saying that there could be, but maybe they're tightening their belts on them.
And you're right, because I'm the one that said, and we were joking with each other across here when you stood up, and you jokingly said, "Oh, I got nothing to talk about. I'm arrested anymore." You said,
yeah, that's exactly right. But
I did say that, to Sally's point. But I felt I had an obligation, ladies and gentlemen, while I was up there, to at least bring it up, because in this coming budget, there's capital items for public works, some significant trucks. So the door is back open slightly. I believe we'll have an opportunity, not to get everything, but maybe get 1 or 2 things that are not quite as much in need as this is right now.
Right, I understand and appreciate the distinction about this need, and without it, we could have some serious problems in troublesome locations. So I'm certainly going to support it, but it seemed like a good time to talk about MRSA, because I was wondering, since you announced that giving waivers was going to be difficult. This was before your recent meeting, but when you announced a few months back it was going to be difficult, I started wondering to myself, what's going to happen to that $900,000 that we've got sitting in there? Because certainly we're not using anywhere near the 1.4 that we got for this year for snow plowing and stuff, because that's really what we see it used for in our budget is winterized materials, snow plowing, and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh boy, what are we going to use this for? So I'm glad that there's a little window, and we'll see if we could
The pressure's on me.
to get through.
Pressure's on me to see if we can open the window a little bit more. So I'm willing to take that, by the way, that responsibility.
But sometimes if you don't use money, you might not get the money in the future. So I'd like to use it for not frivolous spending. I would never advocate that, but for something like this, that's badly needed.
So I have a plan on that, by the way.
Okay, I can't wait to hear it.
Have a plan.
Okay.
So let's see where this goes, and then I'll talk about a plan B at a later date. Okay?
Sure. So, I'm glad that we're doing this tonight to get this badly needed piece of equipment, but more importantly for me, the discussion with your update on MRSA was more important for me to hear about. So,
So we'll visualize a door that was locked when we had the discussion at one of
Yeah.
those, but now it's open up and there's a slight gap there. Maybe we can open it up more, okay?
okay, good. I can complain about MRSA again.
Okay.
And then-
Phew.
The reason we do then the lease payments will then become part of the next fiscal year's budget
Yeah, yes. Yep,
for the next 6 years, actually, it looks like.
Yes.
It's like a 6-year lease.
yes.
And this, just like the lease purchase financing that we had done for Johnson Controls in
That's what I was gonna say.
2015, we didn't need to go to a town meeting for that because it wasn't bonding. This is not bonding.
That's right.
This is borrowing.
Right.
So in case anyone out there's wondering, as
Right.
I sometimes do, why isn't this going to a town meeting?
Exactly.
That's the answer.
If we were trying to purchase this now, that'd have to go to a town meeting and
Right.
have to be a fund balance appropriation, which we didn't want to take out of the fund balance. This is an easier solution.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we've covered it all.
All right. So we have can I ask for a motion?
I made a motion, I think
That's a
we need a second.
And I will second the motion as read by the second selectman.
All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, can we go with the appointments and resignations, Sally and Bill? I'll leave this up to you to handle.
Sure, I'll do the first one. I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Lori Brangie, 70 Bailey Road, as the Republican Registrar of Voters, effective January 31st, 2020, term to expire January 4th, 2021.
Lori did a great job, and I'm very happy for her. She has now found a full-time job. She loved being the registrar. Registrar is part-time, and the registrar's job for someone with a young family is a very good job because it is part-time. But as the family and the children grow older, it's still a great job. But what we have is, she had, I should say, a great opportunity to get a full-time job, and we think she is wonderful. Lori, I will always wish you the best. Thank you, and thank you for your service here to the town of North Haven.
Go ahead, Bill.
I'll second that resignation.
Yes, I would like to just say something about Lori Brangie, on a personal note, if I could.
Sure.
When I first returned to town government in the summer, planned to, in the summer of 2013, I chose to petition for a primary. And when I went to the registrar's office that day in early August, Lori Brangie was the only one there. And, I mean, she's the Republican registrar. I'm a Democrat looking for a primary challenge. She could not have been more professional, more responsive. If I may say, she wrote in her letter how, party affiliation never mattered in their office, and her and Patty worked together. I just want to say that I know from my own personal direct workings with Lori back in that summer of 2013 that was exactly true, and so I commend her for her service to the town, and I know that she was always determined to see that all democratic processes went smoothly in town. So I just wanted to add that to this portion of the
Very nice.
meeting.
Okay. All right, so motion to accept?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll second.
All right.
Yes.
All those in
Thank you.
favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
okay, aye. Bill?
Next one is the resignation of Lori Jean Hannon, 26 Highland Park Road, as the treasurer of the town of North Haven, effective March 17th, 2020, term to expire December 5th, 2021.
Okay, this resignation, Lori did a great job, Lori Jean, as treasurer. This resignation is a byproduct of the next appointment, of which you'll see shortly. So Lori Jean, thank you for all of your hard work down through the years as treasurer. And I'd like to take a second on that motion.
I'll second that motion to accept this resignation.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now this leads to the opportunity here.
Yes, I will make a motion for the appointment of said Lori Jean Hannon, 26 Highland Park Road, as the Republican Registrar of Voters effective March 17th, 2020, term to expire January 4th, 2021.
So I must say, and this ties into Sally's earlier point, that Lori Jean, we thank her for accepting this. She's worked incredibly well with Patty Jackson Marshall. They have hit it off tremendously. They've met many times. Patty has said to us she's delighted to be working with Lori Jean, and I think they're going to make a great team, just like Patty did with Lori Brangie. So thank you very much, Lori Jean, for accepting this, and we're looking for a continued great relationship in our registrar's office.
Right, I can just add that I don't think Lori Jean could ask for a better helper than Patty to, because she's got a lot to learn, and of course, this is a presidential year, and we've got primaries coming up. She's gonna learn and learn fast, and I'm familiar with the quality of Lori Jean Hannon's work in many capacities throughout her career, and I have full confidence that she'll do a great job, and with Patty's help, I know she'll be ready for that April 20-something
Yes.
presidential primary then.
And I got to give Patty a lot of credit. And I
Yeah.
said to Patty in my office one day, I want to thank you very much. I said, Patty, you've been outstanding in this process, and this office truly appreciates your efforts.
They
It's a
are dedicated,
important-
yes,
Important job that they do. I think it's very central to everything that we all do.
right.
That the Registrar of Voters office, functions well and on a team basis in terms of both registrars. So I would agree. I think they would work. They will work really well together.
They're going to have a busy year.
Yes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next item.
I'll move the property tax refunds as listed in the agenda.
I will second those property tax refunds.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Next.
The next item on the agenda is some bond releases. First one is number P1722, 19 Timothy Drive, amount of original bond $15,000, release the entire balance in the amount of $15,000 with the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
All
I'll
right.
second that bond release.
All right, motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
I'll make a motion regarding item P 94-72, I guess also known as B 95-19, Beach Street and North Hill Road, amount of original bond $1,100,000. Release the entire bond balance in the amount of $50,000 with the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission. The bond release is contingent upon formal town acceptance of the road and will be held until such time that the road is officially accepted at a town meeting.
Okay,
And I'll make that motion.
all right.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And then the last bond release is number P94-72, also B95-20, Beach Street, North Hill Road, amount of original bond, $1.5 million. Release the entire bond balance to the amount of $100,000 with the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission. The bond release is contingent upon formal town acceptance of the road and will be held until such time that the road is officially accepted at a town meeting.
Is there a
I'll second that bond release motion as stated by the second selectman.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number 10, the next meeting of this board is Thursday, April 9th, 2020, here at the Memorial Town Hall at 7 PM.
Mike, that just as a note, that's a special date. We were moving to accommodate Bill, so it's not the
I was
first
gonna mention that,
Thursday
but
of the...
Yes, that's a very good point, Valerie. So what Valerie's saying, if you weren't able to pick it up on the mics, ladies and gentlemen, the normal meeting would have been Thursday, the 2nd. But at a previous meeting, we had agreed, based to accommodate Mr. Piper's schedule, and we always do that. We'll always accommodate the schedules. The meeting is pushed back 1 week to April 9th. Thank you.
Which is really the second Thursday
Yes.
of April. So thank you.
No problem.
Okay, item number 11, public comment. We see none. We'll call for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good evening.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.